The Indiana Fever moving forward. Caitlin Clark has a new coach coming on in. Keith Porter is coming on in and is going to come over from the Connecticut Sun. And it's going to be something that's going to be really interesting. Caitlin Clark is going to have a brand new coaching staff going forward into the new WNBA season. And it looks like Stephanie White's going to go ahead and pull another one of Connecticut Sun, assistant coach. Keith Porter's going to come on over and he's going to help out on the coaching staff. Said he's really excited, a little bit nervous, but excited to come over to the Indiana Fever and go through some player development and developing the Indiana Fever players as they go into the next season. And it's something that it's a comfortability. It looks like for Stephanie White, this is the second coach that she's brought over. And the Indiana Fever are looking to get back on track. Now, I did have something additional that was extra beyond and above. I had an opportunity to listen to Amber Cox, and if I'm hearing Amber Cox correctly, and I think the Indiana Fever is saying that everybody needs to pump the brakes, everybody needs to relax. The Indiana Fever are a young basketball team, and they do not feel, or Amber Cox, the general manager, does not feel they have enough leadership on the team today that can lead them into the playoffs or make a run in the playoffs. And Amber Cox was also adamant that this is still, we're 2 or 3 years away from competing for a WNBA championship. And that's kind of how she laid it out as to, it's just not time just yet. And, one of the things is just learning to be patient, is what Amber Cox is saying. And the Indiana Fever, rightly so, have quite a few decisions that they have to make, but they've made them. They're going to bring Keith over, and he's going to coach on the Indiana Fever. And Caitlin Clark will have another new coach. And again, as Amber had stated, that Caitlin and Leah Boston, the Indiana Fever, are a very young team and don't expect to make a run for another 2 or 3 years. So it's going to be patience that's going to get them there. And you've got to look at this. And I took a good look at it. And I said, well, you know what? I think Amber might be correct that obviously, Stephanie White's coming in and not necessarily as much experience as Becky Hammond. And, I was looking back for the last 2, 3 years of who's won a championship and how did it happen. And when it get across to Caitlin, one of the things going to have to eventually is going to have to win a championship. And you look at some of the competition that's sitting there: Brianna Stewart, New York Liberty, are just a fully loaded team. As I expressed, Laney Hamilton wasn't healthy. So, and they got Sandy's coaching, so they got experience, and they're standing in the way. And then, Asia Wilson, Las Vegas Aces, obviously, one of the teams that the Indiana Fever did not beat. And so they're standing there, and you got Becky and everything. They've got the experience. So as Amber Cox was kind of bringing it forward, and some interesting news regarding the retirement jerseys in South Carolina, retirement jerseys in Iowa's retirement jerseys. And again, it's as I said earlier, it's a little fast for Iowa to be retiring a jersey. But then I had to take a look back, and I said, well, you got to look at it from a different blue point. Iowa's wants to show the appreciation, and Asia Wilson. Everybody says, Why does it take so long? Well, folks, one of the thing you got to put in consideration when you get a program like UConn, and they have just a tremendous plethora of just outstanding players that come through the university. They would literally have to retire every jersey. They wouldn't have any numbers left. South Carolina wouldn't have any numbers left. UConn wouldn't have any numbers. Tennessee wouldn't have any numbers left if they retired the players who have come through. the Blue Bloods, as you call them, or Duke University. Come through the Blue Bloods, Kentucky, you wouldn't have any jerseys left. And so this is a big experience for Iowa. And, I'm sure they retired other players. But to do it 1 year after, that's a little quick. That's normally you don't see that. It usually 2 or 3 years down the road, they bring you back in and they have the celebration. But rightfully so, and along with the announcement of the retirement, and not necessarily making it a big deal, but they're doing a retirement. They're going to do it with USC and JuJu Watkins, and JuJu Watkins made a kind of a statement. Says I'm ready now, and feels that WNBA players, players who would like to enter the WNBA, should have the right to do so. There shouldn't be anything holding them back, and that's just Juju saying, "I'll be happy to join your retirement party, but this is a little like boxing now." She's saying, "I'm ready for you, Caitlin, and I'm ready for the WNBA now." And the age rule of having 4 years in players really really get in there and have to service the universities for 4 years is not something that needs to happen. And folks, I'll take you something here, and this goes back to winter of 2008. This has been in this policy of the WNBA and the age rule. It's already been challenged. It's just nobody. There was really no need for anybody to come forward and challenge it. But there was an interesting back in 2008, and it talked about the analyzation of the WNBA's mandatory age educational problem from a legal, cultural, and ethical perspective, women, men, and professional sports landscape. And it really just did a comparison. It was interesting. The looking at the coaching and who's came on board, the new Chicago Sky coach. This was involving Courtney Parris, who was 6'4", freshman, 250 pounds, was ready to go in the WNBA after freshman year, but wasn't able to do so. And when you looked at it, it really covered it really in the first paragraph, just giving you a good synopsis that probably Paris probably would have option to declare herself eligible for the Women's National Basketball Association draft, just as Greg Oden did. And Greg Oden was drafted number one in the NBA. However, even though Paris was both older and more formally educated than Oden, Paris was prevented from declaring herself by the WNBA educational policy, age and education, which requires all prospective women basketball players to wait 4 years after high school graduation before turning professional. As a result, Paris was left with just two feasible options: stay at Oklahoma for 2 more years and graduate while earning no immediate income, or take the WNBA to court over its age educational policy. Ultimately, she decided to remain in school. So basically, in fact, I'll skip a little bit more, but it really covers it here, in fact, and here's where it covers it. In fact, the WNBA age educational policy is the only policy in any established professional sports league that precludes a potential class of players from entering professional leagues until their expected dates of college graduation. So it's something that's challengeable. You look at Juju Watkins, her status is different. Um, Not only as she's a collegiate player, but she's also a pro basketball professional women's basketball owners association owner in the unrivaled league, and she has an equity stake. So now you're not only challenging from the collegiate perspective, which the players are getting paid in college, is there something or a reason why they won't allow the players to move forward? I think that's going to be an easy decision, and I think it's going to really ramp up. You'll see the WNBA draft turn into a potential draft like the NBA, but there will be more players selected, and it allows you to make the move that you need to make to be able to land it. Now, here's the other thing that I'm going to bring to the table, along with Caitlin Clark and the new draft rules. Caitlin may have some impact on the argument as well. The National Women's Soccer League, which is a league that Caitlin Clark was petitioning to be an owner in that, and I don't believe they won the bid. However, one of the rules in the National Women's Soccer League, they no longer have a draft. And basically, the players who are able to enter into the soccer league, the players make the decision on who will be able to actually go in there and play for which team. So they eliminated the entire draft. Now, why do I bring that up and why is that such major? Because you have a situation here like JuJu Watkins. And really, JuJu Watkins, I said the blueprint, Indiana, it works. It worked well for Caitlin Clark, and it worked well for the rest of the WNBA. There's no doubt about it. And once you get to this level, you got to give the players an opportunity to actually go in and make a decision of who they want to play for. And that's what they did in the National Women's Soccer League. Now, why is that so mission critical today? Well, in the WNBA, you have some great young players who are superstars. There's no doubt about it. And the superstars need to play or pick their destination. And here's where it can get a little bit gonna have to be a wait and see with JuJu Watkins. If JuJu is able to go ahead and enter the WNBA, which again, it's collective CBA time, and this is something that's definitely on the table. Once JuJu is able to do that and enter into the WNBA, JuJu also can contest the draft process because JuJu Watkins is not a graduating senior or 4 years removed from college. Now, why is that important? I think it's extremely important as Caitlin, who has played in Indiana, and the blueprint clearly works. There's no doubt about it. Nobody's questioning having Caitlin in Indiana is not a tremendous advantage. Now, what does that mean? I think JuJu Watkins should be able to choose who she wants to play for. And if it's Los Angeles, then she should be able to play for the Los Angeles Sparks. Now, where does that leave Paige Buchers? I think Paige Buchers should be playing for the Connecticut Sun. There's no doubt about it. And the Connecticut Sun also have another corporate decision. They're going to have to decide what do they want to do. Do they want to be the Connecticut Sun or the Boston Sun? Because now you're talking about another high profile players. And when you have these high profile players come out, you got to get them in the right situation. And this is where the draft, it's kind of like the WNBA expansion draft. And you look at it and you hear all the hype about it. And you get back to Stephanie White, just like they didn't want to leave players protected or unprotected. And I think that was something that Amber really covered. And this brought me back when I heard this, brought me back to Alyssa Smith. And I think the Fever have kind of overplayed their hand or underplayed their hand. I'm not sure what you call it, but when you get to Amber Cox, how did she look at it? She says, I don't think everyone understands this is going to be 2 or 3 years away. And I don't think if everyone understands that the Indiana Fever, again, is free agency open, could trade. But Alyssa Smith, is not somebody the Indiana Fever were coveting at the time. And when Timmy got away, I don't know if that shocked the Fever or threw him in because when I did look at it, I think it's time. They're going to have to address it. Now, here's Kelly, and they got to make decisions because obviously they're not intending for Caitlin Clark to go win a WNBA championship next year or potentially not the year after. The Indiana Fever actual plan, according to Kelly and Amber, is they're 2 or 3 years away. They feel that they're a very young team, which is almost contradicting to saying, okay, we have athlete of the year, we have the best player that can do the most draw, it's the most talented, as they believe. But this is also the same player that they are saying to everyone they're young and they're not ready to win a WNBA championship. So the Indiana Fever, they're just growing and building, and it made me think, okay, they have not done this before. So as I bring it to you, I just want to let you know the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark's got another coach. Stephanie White's bringing somebody from the Connecticut Sun. Kieth Porter's going to join it. They're going to try to get things going in the right direction. Becky Hammond, we still don't know. But Caitlin's not expected to win a championship, so we won't put her in the class of Asia Wilson. But she's nevertheless is a top athlete and gets it done. The other one we haven't talked about much is Breanna Stewart, who is one type of player that can't be touched. And the New York Liberty are shining strong, right? They're going to retire Caitlin's jersey, but it didn't stop there. Guess what? JuJu says, I want in, and I'll join your retirement party, but I want to go against you, Caitlin. JuJu says it's time for players to come on in, and let's drop the age rule. I'm ready to go pro now, and best player in the world is ready. Not holding back. It's been a conscious week. Nike, everybody's signing. I told you earlier, Steve Ballmer cleared the deck, $500 million acquisition fee. That's what it should cost. That'll eliminate all the confusion. But Amber Cox really dropped the bombshell, really said we're not moving forward yet. We're at least 2-3 years away from winning a championship. So the Indiana Fever, Stephanie White, they let her pick her staff, and they understand they're not going to win next year, and they're not going to win the year after. They may have the best talent that they feel in Caitlin Clark, but they don't believe it's enough. Win a championship. And Alyssa Smith is going to have to go on, and I believe Chicago Sky is the best fit, but I'll leave it alone. And JuJu, no doubt about it, she talk the talk. She going to walk the walk. She says it's time for me to enter the WNBA, and I'm an equity owner. As an owner, I should be able to choose where I want to play. This is what it is, but it all hinges. And leave it or not, I leave it up to Caitlin. I'll tell you something. Nike had her mentioned in the earnings call. And when Nike mentions you in the earnings call, I'll tell you, I'll cover it up tomorrow for you. But Caitlin Clark, oh, man, that's a massive contract that Nike has. The $28 million, the new contract's going to look like a small number. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. All things are possible. To those who believe, we're going to get better and better, go higher and higher, the access to behind the scenes. You stay tuned. We'll see you soon.